I just want to ask a question about the payments 2017 to 2019 and the 120,000, and we know that there's an ongoing process in relation to that. You might give us an update where that is, because it appears that that payment wasn't made to Ryan Tubridy. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah. So in my statement, opening statement, 28th of June, I set it out there, and I said that, and I confirmed that he did not receive the exit fee, and I set out how this came about in relation to the question over the 120,000.
So it appears it was some sort of weird accountancy practices
Correct.
in RTE.
What was very clear was it wasn't right.
It wasn't right.
So we corrected the record.
But that information was put out there, and in the public's mind, Ryan Tubridy was guilty here of receiving this payment when he didn't. Would it be right?
No, what was put out was that there was an understatement of the figure, and that it was the fault of RTE. That's what was put out there.
Okay. Can I just, in relation to a comment that Mr. Tubridy made when he was in on Tuesday, he said he felt his reputation was desperately sullied. And we know in his opening statement he set out the 7 untruths as he put forward. We know that those untruths have been challenged by Mr. Backhurst. Can I ask a question as to whether any legal papers have been served on RTE by Ryan Tubridy, Noel Kelly, or agents, legal agents representing them in relation to that? Nothing.
As a matter of principle, RTE does not comment on legal matters.
Okay, well, Mr. Lynch has said no. Mr. Backhurst has said no. Legal are saying you don't comment, so I take it.
No.
So I take it no papers have been served. No. Okay. Can I just ask in relation to the barter account? And it has been stated that there was no credit card attached to that account. Am I correct in saying that?
I'll take that. My understanding is that, as I said to the Deputy previously, is that an invoice is raised to Astus, and Astus makes the payment.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
There was no credit card.
That's my understanding.
Is there a debit card attached to that account?
The only manner that I understand is that an invoice is raised and it is paid by the third party.
Okay. Have we asked the questions as to whether there was a...
I will confirm it for you.
You will confirm, because I think that will be important to establish how those transactions were made, as to whether they were through an electronic fund transfer, or whether there was a direct or a debit card attached to that. So if you could confirm that and come back to us, I think it would be really useful. Just in relation to, I want to look to the future a little bit, as well as obviously the critical bit here is trying to establish the facts. I'm not sure as to whether we are any clearer in terms of establishing the facts and reinstilling that public confidence in the national broadcaster. But Mr. Backhurst, you were asked a question in terms of the future of RTE and Donnybrook, Montrose. Can you shed any light as to what the future holds for Donnybrook and RTE? Is there a piece of work ongoing there with a potential to sell off the remainder of that site?
Yes, well, thank you, Deputy. Yes, I mean, I did actually spend some weeks of my gardening leave over the summer looking at the future strategy with the executive and talking to the chair about it as well. And we were doing a lot of work about future options for RTE. Future shape of the organisation and future location of the organisation. And it's fair to say we looked at a number of options. All the options have advantages or disadvantages, and they also all have price tags attached to them, which is
okay, I'm just conscious of the time here,
yeah,
Mr.
sorry, yes.
So that's an open piece of work.
It's an open piece of work at the moment, and a lot of it hinges on future funding. to be brutally honest.
Okay, and can I just ask, because there's been a lot of backwards and forwards here, finger pointing, he said, she said, in terms of the evidence provided by Ryan Tubridy, by Mr. Kelly, in terms of the information we're getting here as well. And certainly from my perspective, it would be very useful to have everyone in the room at the same time. And just to ask the question as to whether that is something you would be open to for a future Public Accounts Committee hearing, because I think Mr. Tubridy said he would be open to coming back in just to see as to whether that would be something you would be open to.
Yeah, far be it from me to volunteer to come here again, but I mean, yeah. Yes, of course, we would be open to anything which sheds more light on this. So absolutely, of course, we would be, we're open to that. Can I just make one point though, Deputy? And I think you're right, and I think some of the other deputies have made this point, and I think there's a lot of he said, she said, and trying to get to the bottom of it, and there are some key players missing from this discussion at the moment, and I'd welcome them being in the room as well, by the way, if we come back.
Absolutely.
All I would like to say is we know fundamentally what went wrong here. These payments were made, they were sanctioned by individuals within RT, they should never have been made. And, in the end, we'll try and get to the bottom of who said what and so on, and we have been trying very hard to do that, but we know what the problem is.
We know
what I'm trying to do is to absolutely make sure that will never happen again.
Absolutely, and just to conclude on this comment and to pick up at a point that Deputy Munster made earlier on, that mistakes were made, as mistakes were allowed to happen, not in silos, and it's important that people aren't sidelined, people aren't allowed to walk off into the sunset with golden handshakes, that there has to be recourse, there has to be accountability, and golden handshakes should not be allowed to be part of that exit strategy.
Thank you. I have to say, it'd be a very interesting meeting to be in to try and chair.